Jose Sandoval killed Vivian Tuttle's daughter Yvonne in the 2002 Norfolk bank shootings.
Sandoval told Yvonne to get down on her knees, and he shot her in the back of the head. And I watched that film 6 times during the trials.
Tuttle says Nebraskans should keep the death penalty so stories like her daughter's don't happen as much. During an October 18th public hearing at the Capitol, Tuttle read a note from her granddaughter Christine, who has received mail from her mother's killer.
I know that I will never receive another letter from him if he has to be put to death. I also want to know that in death row, he will never be able to hurt another person.
Rulo, Nebraska cult leader Michael Ryan tortured Miriam Kelly's brother James Tim to death in 1985.
Michael Ryan was sentenced to death over 30 years ago, and until last year, Michael Ryan sat on death row, and then he died of cancer.
Kelly says the death penalty fails murder victims' family members, regardless of whether or not they want to see the killer executed. She says it doesn't carry out the promised justice, while also forcing them to relive painful memories every time executions are appealed.
I would give anything to go back in time and change that death sentence to life imprisonment. If that happened, my children would have grown up without seeing their uncle's killer become a celebrity as he slowly worked his way through the court system.
Whether they're for or against the death penalty, the topic is a source of grief for victims' families. But this may be the last time the issue comes up, because on November 8th, Nebraska voters will decide on the death penalty's fate.
Oh, Sir Smith.
In 2015, state lawmakers passed a law abolishing the death penalty. Referendum 426 has put that law on hold, and Nebraskans will vote whether to retain the law or repeal it.
Jose Sandoval. Murdered.
Nebraskans for the Death Penalty is one of the sponsors of Referendum 426 and urges voters to keep the death penalty by voting to repeal LB 268. The organization wasn't available for comment, but Senator Mike Groney, who also supports the death penalty, says its purpose is not retribution, but rather serving justice to those who commit the most heinous crimes. Dan Parsons is a spokesman for Retain a Just Nebraska, a group that encourages Nebraskans to keep the death penalty abolished by voting retain.
We certainly understand that these crimes that are committed are terrible, heinous crimes. And absolutely the people that commit those crimes, they absolutely ought to be punished. We believe firmly that the death penalty is a false promise to Nebraskans. It no longer serves any usefulness in our state. It's wasting millions of dollars.
An Institute for Economic Inquiry and Creighton University study says only 1% of Nebraska's murder convictions in 41 years resulted in an execution. Based on justice spending of other death penalty states, it estimates maintaining the death penalty annually costs Nebraska nearly $15 million more than having life in prison without parole as the highest punishment. Those who want to keep the death penalty challenge the study's accuracy, saying it didn't use actual data from Nebraska's justice system.
From 25 years in private practice, if I would see that type of report submitted by opposing counsel, I don't think it would get admitted into evidence because it wouldn't follow the standards necessary. But yet it's now being in numbers suggested to voters.